Hello YouTube, this is my little video about the Aztek Fountain Complete scooter. I don't want to keep this video too long, so I'll jump straight into it. The packaging was awesome. Receiving this scooter was better than any others that I have had in the past. Well, completes at least. I haven't had many completes, but this one definitely stood out. It came in a big substantial box, adequate padding where it was needed, like the head tube and the bars at the top so they didn't scratch, etc., and where the bars joint to the back of the scooter. It was perfect. Like, I've never seen a scooter quite as well packaged as this, other than the Ethic I think I've seen. I've only seen the Ethic stuff, and that's good, so yeah, good Aztek for that. Okay, so specs are 24 high without the FCS and then 26 with the FCS. I know a lot of people don't really find those measurements, so I made sure that I give both to you. 22 wide, so pretty good. It looks like there's room to cut them down, especially if you have smaller grips, because the grips are really nice on this scooter, I will say. The weird thing about these bars is that one, they're aluminium, but even weirder, it's 31.8. The outer diameter, which is really strange to see on aluminium bars. I do like the idea, but only if they would have made it thicker material, because aluminium bars, if you've ever ridden them before, they snap really easily, and they normally come in oversized as well, which was kind of strange to see. So I recommend, if you do get this scooter, is to use like a steel tube and put it up the center of the bar just to give it a bit more strength. Quite a few people do this. We used to do it to the razor forks back in the day. It really does just add a bit more strength to it, but for me, I'm just going to ditch the SCS as good as it is and go with my HIC setup, which I've always ridden ever since the Mad Gear days. The SCS is actually really good. I think all the bolts except the brake use 6mm Allen keys, which means 8mm bolts, or the M8 bolts, which is amazing. It's been so long not having any 6mm bolts anymore. They were terrible. Aztek, well done. So let's get on to the deck. So the deck comes in at 5 wide, 20.3 long from the head tube, from the start of the head tube to the middle of the rear axle, and then if you're going from end to end, it's 20.8, which is what most websites do put, which I find it a bit off, like stating that a deck is longer than the rear axle. I find the riding part is right on the rear axle. That's where you should go up to. Oh yeah, the bottom of the deck is 4.6 wide, or about 4.5. It tapers in quite weird, so I didn't really get a really good measurement, but it's around that much. It tapers in a bit. That's all that matters really. And the back end of the deck is, I would call it semi-boxed, because it's like flat, and then they cut off the very corner of it, so it's not quite boxed, but it's still good for your 5.0s or etc, etc. It's perfect for that. It's not as wide as their Siren deck that they came out with, but it's so good for the price of this scooter. If you're just getting into it, this is perfect. Before we do get into the pros though, I will talk about the cons. Talking of the wheels first, is 3 spokes for me is just not enough. I've ridden quite a few different wheels over my time, and I've always found like any less than 5, which normally goes down in odd numbers, so 3 is the next, they just seem to like bend in, or if the spokes are too thin, if the hub on the outside of the wheel before the urethane, it just bends. Like if you're doing big gaps, etc., it just bends. But overall, this wheel does look pretty decent. It's not going to give you any problems, especially if you are as the target audience, like, you know, beginner, intermediate sort of level. So I will just mention again about the bars. They are really bad straight out of the box, especially for myself. I'm going to be changing them, but if you're kind of at a really good level where you bend and break bars, I definitely recommend reinforcing the inside of the bars. Just get a simple inner diameter measurement with a caliper gauge, and you can sort that out no problem. Another issue I have is the forks, because the back end of the scooter, the brake is actually adjustable, which is amazing, because then you can fit your bigger wheels. But if you just look at the front of the scooter with the fork, you know for certain that you're not even going to fit a 120 in there, let alone a 125. So I found that a bit odd. But I mean, it comes with the 110s. Again, perfect for someone who's just starting out. I run 110s anyway, so I'm sorted. I'm just pointing it out that if you are looking to put bigger wheels on this scooter, you're probably going to have to change that fork over, which is a shame, but it's good. And finally, I'll just talk about what I think will happen, especially with the deck at least anyway. As I said before about the bars, they're just going to snap, especially just above the clamp. They'll just give way if you don't reinforce them. I'm pretty certain that that's where they'll snap. Again, if you're just a beginner, intermediate sort of level, it's probably not going to be an issue until you progress a little bit more. As for the deck, funny. Where the head tube neck comes down into the extrusion, I'm not so keen on the welding. I think it will definitely give way there if it was to break, because the rest of the deck is actually quite substantial. It's quite a heavy deck, especially from what I'm used to with the AO quadrum. That deck is magnificent, still going strong. It's just so light and everything. Coming to this will definitely be a bit of a change. This is an 82.5 head tube angle as well, compared to what I'm used to, which is about 83. But again, with these welds, I think this is the weakest part of the deck. I don't think, even with the original Fountain deck or whatever it was when they first brought this sort of style head tube in, they were just making that gap through to the floor on the actual extrusion. Through the head tube, that's fine. So many decks are good there. Like, I think that's perfectly alright. It's just the actual extrusion down through to the floor. It just, one, looks really bizarre, and two, I just don't think the welds are going to be able to withhold it enough. The plate on the bottom and the top of the extrusion really do add strength, in my opinion, just coming from snapping so many decks at that point. So we'll see what happens. I'm really pleased with the actual scooter itself. For £200, that scooter is amazing. Back in the Razor Ultra Pro days, dude, we used to have to buy the Complete because they didn't sell the deck separately, and then we just modify it from there. Again, I'm going to have to modify it a little bit with the bars and compression, but other than that, it's really, really good. I'm really pleased with it, and I can't recommend it enough. If you do want to buy this scooter, you can get it at Dog Scooters, which is where I got it from, so plug them. They do an awesome job there. I used to work there. I appreciate all their help that they've given me. So yeah, just go and buy your scooter from Dog Scooters. But yeah, this scooter is amazing. I do really recommend it, especially if you're a beginner, intermediate sort of level, you're looking for that next step. Yeah, those are my thoughts and overview specs. If you have any questions or opinions, please share them in the comments. I'm more than happy to discuss it with you, and peace out.